Countdown on the clock again. Feel like I'm playing in a game that I can never win. Time is running out, I know I gotta make a choice. So many whispers in my ear that I can't hear my voice. Tell me, will it end the situation that I'm in? Or am I bound to sit alone, drowning in my sins? Get right or get left, what will it be? Time is running out, the blood is flowing down the streets. People need to know we're living in a war zone. Hit the streets with the truth.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros Podcast. I'm your host, Residentdarrell, and this week's going to be a little different. The rest of the crew is off. A lot of people got a lot of things going on this week, and I was able to sit down with an amazing guest, Josh Nealis from Cutthroat Comics, shoot the breeze, talk with him about some books, talk with him about some music, talk about all kinds of stuff. So it was a great time, great conversation. That's coming up. With that being said, I'm going to run through the normal rigmarole. We're going to do the toast, all the good stuff that you know and love from the Loot Bros podcast. This week's toast is going to go out to our Patreon producers. We have El Presidente, the T-Bird. We have Redbeard Rick. We have the King of the Poop Sock. We have My Name is Mayo. And we have the podcast producer, Patreon champion of the world, MZ Nitro. So, with that being said, you guys, it's been a light week for me. I mentioned on the show last week that I was coming down with some sickness, and I ain't talking about the disturbed kind. Good Lord, that I end up getting sick. It was not a good week for me. I did not feel good at all. So I barely played anything. A little bit of Dying Light 2 and some Dead by Daylight with the kids. As a matter of fact, I might have popped some trophies this week, but it's slim pickings for me. Like I said, played a little bit of Dead by Daylight, and that was just, Dying Light 2, Dead by Daylight, and then I guess technically since the last recording, we did some Batman Arkham Origins. I don't know that we even did. I think it might have been the week before. I can't even think. I don't even know where I'm at anymore. So crazy. No. Yeah, for sure. We did the Batman Arkham Origins boost session with Redbeard Rick. We got Diego and a couple other people. That was good. Gareth Davis, shout out to all you guys. That was a really good time. Man, I really appreciate you guys. That was a very frustrating but rewarding and oddly fun time of boosting. For any of you guys who have ever played Batman Arkham Origins, it has a multiplayer. The multiplayer is actually really, really fun. It's kind of buried in this weird, I guess because the servers are long since forgotten. You have to kind of queue in and then wait either 10, 20, or 30-minute increments to even load into the main menu to then start organizing playing online. It's very, very interesting, very frustrating, but it was fun. It was a good time. We worked out and we got knocked out some of the bigger, harder trophies. And then my kids and I set up 3 TVs with Batman on, very much like your Batcave command center kind of thing. And we all played for a couple hours that night way after the boost session. And the boys and I had a blast. Who knows? We might even do the same thing again this weekend. Feeling much better. It was a very, very rough week. I ended up getting progressively sicker. I took a COVID test. It said negative. I don't believe it. I felt the same way I did when I had COVID a year ago. But, who knows? It could have been a man cold. Could have been just a little bit of the flu. I don't know. Either way, didn't play a ton of games. They got some trophies in Dead by Daylight. Fun game. I don't know why I like it. It has all of the trappings of things to make me dislike it. It's a multiplayer only game. It's loading in and loading out of matches. It takes forever. I don't know. It's definitely not my favorite thing, but for whatever reason, I'm having a really good time with it. And I keep playing it, and the kids enjoy it. So right now we're going to go with it. Will I ever play this like for the platinum? I seriously doubt it. But with that being said, I haven't played a ton. We'll get into the leaderboards, get into the backlog beatdown, and then I'm going to kick it straight over to the interview. This is going to be a shorter episode this week, but we'll definitely make up for it when the full cast is back together next week. Head on over to truetrophies.com, set yourself up a little profile. Then all you got to do is sync up your PlayStation account, and it'll keep track of all your trophies from week to week. We read out the top 3 to 5 depending on the week. So in first place, we have the Affectatious Donk with 316 trophies. In second place, the Chosen Seagull with 40 trophies. In third place, Tricky Mick, 39 trophies. We got fourth place, Redbeard Rick with 22, and Gaz Davis in fifth place with 22 as well. So, Redbeard Rick been knocking out those Batman Arkham Origins trophies. So stoked. I know you're going to get the Platinum Brother, and I'm excited for you. I'm ready to see it. I don't know that I'm going to go for it, though. These trophies are kicking my butt. The combat trophies are terrible, and I have finally... Okay, I got a little bit of story for you guys, actually. So, normally I tell a story in the beginning of the show. For this particular week, I sat in my office sick as a dog, and I was like, man, what am I going to do besides sleep? I don't want to sleep. I turned on my Xbox in my office, tried to play Game Pass, could not load a single Game Pass game. So frustrating. I did play a little bit of Crisis, but I had the game downloaded on the console because I own it. And I never played the first Crisis game before. So far, it's pretty decent. I kind of want to play the remaster because I'm playing the Xbox 360 version. But I wanted to play something on Game Pass. I couldn't even get the Game Pass menus to load. Game Pass failed me hard this week. I go home, and I'm sitting in the game room with the boys, and I'm like, man, I need to be studying, but I felt like trash. Like, what am I going to do? Like, they want to play some games. I'm like, you know what? We watched lots of movies this week. We watched the Jurassic World, and I was like, you know what? I've already seen this movie a dozen times. Watching it with the kids, I'll stream some PS Now, some Batman Arkham Origins to one of the PlayStations that are in the same room. It ran like absolute trash. Like, couldn't play the game. It ran so bad. And I'm usually a PS Now advocate. I'm like, man, PS Now usually does me good. No, it was trash. Now, 2 different places, 2 different services, 2 different types of internet connectivity, both bad experiences this week. I was not happy with that. I was a little frustrated. So I just kind of want to throw that out there, you guys. Also, and this is something we'll talk about later. I think it's kind of busted. I read earlier that this might have been addressed, might be fixed now. So this would be really cool if this is no longer the case. But I read that the Crossfire X, not only is it's on Game Pass, not only is it getting just panned critically, but it is, you had to pay an extra $8 to unlock the campaign. So like, you get this game on Game Pass, but you don't get the full game unless you pay. And then I read in an article the other day, I think on trueachievements.com, that they rectified it. They did a patch to fix up some of the bugs and things. And then also to unlock the campaign through Game Pass. I don't know if that's legit or not. I have not looked at it this weekend. So hopefully tomorrow, maybe I'll get to check that out. And maybe by next week, I'll have something, to kind of report back to you guys, because I really want to play it. It's a Remedy game. Remedy at least made the campaign, and they don't make bad games. So I find it hard to believe that Remedy made a bad one out of the blue. So, but we'll see. Right now, all signs point towards that game is absolute hot garbage. So, if you head on over to trueachievements.com, do the exact same thing. Set up a little profile, link it with your Xbox, your platform, whatever version of Microsoft you use. We do the same thing. We keep the achievements flowing, the achievements rolling. And I actually have a write-in from one of the listeners about that. I'm styling on you, bro. Writes in to the podcast just like you can. And he asks, when doing the leaderboards, why do you always call gamer score achievement points? So back in the day when the Xbox achievements launched, that's what everybody called them. You had achievement points. The points accumulated based on the achievements you unlocked that then total your gamer score. So maybe that's not right. I don't know, but I've been doing this achievement thing since 2006, and you're the first person who's ever called me on it. So if that is not correct, you guys let me know. source me, cite me, show me where, I guess, what is the proper terminology? Is there a Xbox dictionary out there? Like an urban dictionary, but for Xbox. I don't know. So we call it gamer score. I don't ever call it gamer score. Like when I refer to gamer score, it's the total. What is my score as a gamer? 135,000 something, I believe. I don't even know. I'm so far removed from it because I don't pop achievements that often that I don't even know what it is. 113,646 points, according to True Achievements. So actually, I have 2 profiles out there. I have another one. And I've got like another 10K, another 10K somewhere floating around that I lost, that I got locked out of a profile. So, as far as the True Achievements leaderboards go, Mr. Sony Pony to you with 6,000 achievement points. Good God, man is straight smashing, killing it. Second place is, I don't know if it's Sadak or Sadak or Sadak. But 2,870 achievement points or gamer score. Third place, T-Bird, El Presidente, the T-Bird, with 1,000 even, playing some Firewatch. Good job, brother. In fourth place, I'm styling on your bro with 365 gamer score or achievement points. And in fifth place, the Bearded Nerd with 305. Playing a little bit of Halo Infinite. You and like 4 other people. So good job. So that is it. That's all we got for the leaderboards. That's all we got for the community write-ins. The rest of them you'll hear later in the interview section of the show. But I do want to read out the backlog beatdown. We got the spreadsheet fixed. I spoke incorrect the last time. My bad, guys. James McCall, your score was right. It was good. So, right now, we have CJ in first place with 33 points. Residentdarrell tied for second with Diego for 25 points. Gareth Davis coming in strong at 24 points. JT at 17. Joseph Priestley and Redbeard Rick tied at 16 points. We got old Alex from Trophy Horrors, the Sondosaurus Rex himself, coming in high with 9 points. He's tied with Corey for 9. We got I'm Stalling on Your Bro, Noah the Builder, and the Bearded Nerd all at 8 points apiece. This is very interesting, guys. We got a lot of people competing for spots on here. We got Jared and Tricky with 7. Jared, I believe you might have more points than that, actually. I'm going to have to double check on that one. Jared, you might have 8. I don't remember. Actually, I updated all of this before, but I know I had written down to double check one of yours because the total platinum time comes in, I think, less than 5 hours, but I'll have to double check. If you're hearing this, feel free to shoot me a message. I know you will. Next up, we got Homer Gets Stuff and I Yield to No One. The Brothers of Destruction are tied at 6. MZ Nitro with 5. James McCall with 3. T-Bird with 3. I don't think T-Bird claimed Firewatch. I don't know if you finished it yet. Maybe you did. We got T-Bird at 3. Jim at 2. James the Nerd at 2. We got Game Squat at 2. Kalai with 2. The Franchise Killer Levi at 2. And Spider Pax with 2. Unfortunately, Spider Pax, Noah the Builder, they've been playing a whole lot of Dead by Daylight. They have not been putting in some time on other games. So I know all that's going to change soon for us because we're going to be playing some Horizon Zero Dawn. Not Horizon Zero Dawn, Horizon Forbidden West. I am personally holding off on starting that game until I pass my MLO course. I can't be, bullcrapping around. I'll play a little bit here and there with the kids, but I'm even going to take a break from Dying Light. I got 20-ish days until test time. So with that being said, guys, gals, lady guy gals, we are going to cut out of here and cut into the interview. This is going to be an off week. So if this is your first time ever listening to the show, thank you so much for doing that. It's a general gaming podcast. We talk video games. We talk comic books. We talk all kinds of junk. We talk junk. We have a good time. Normally, we have a whole host of people here, and it's a blast. If you like what you hear, you've been listening for a while, check out the Patreon. Big shout out to all of our new patrons. We have we've added, so it ebbs and flows. We've added some new patrons. Thank you so much for all you guys for coming on and investing in us and joining us in this podcast journey. We're having a blast. It's a really good time. But yeah, so updates coming, this next wave of Patreon content on the games that have been beaten, the games that I've been challenged to. So we are definitely, very appreciative of all you guys, and we are very excited to continue to do this. And definitely for every single person that, invests in the Loot Bros, we're going to keep doing it. Going to keep knocking this stuff out, giving you the best of what we got and bringing on some great guests. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening, for writing in. And we have a great guest, Josh Nealis from Cutthroat Comics. I had a blast talking with him. So here's that interview now.
Next time they shine your light in the sky, don't go to it. The bat is dead. Bury it.
Tell me. Do you bleed? You will. Lend me your ears once again. These words will hit like a whirlwind. I've gathered my chips, now I'm cashing in. How come we can't find the passion inside ourselves to be?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loot Bros podcast. I'm your host, Residentdarrell, and with me this week, I have a very special guest. I've been talking about this for several weeks leading up to this point. We have another comic book creator on with us tonight. I hope I'm introducing you correctly, Josh. You are the founder and I would imagine editor-in-chief of Cutthroat Comics.
I'm pretty much everything for Cutthroat Comics. So you could have said janitor, and I'm also the janitor.
Okay. All right, well, hang on. Let me restart that. All right, everybody, I have the janitor for Cutthroat Comics on the show with us. So, Josh Nealis, how are you doing, brother?
Pretty good. I can't complain, I guess.
Well, I am extremely excited to have you on tonight. The way the show is going to go, this will be added towards the end of our normal run of the show. We got to give our listeners, all the little community things that we do. We do leaderboards. We do various, events throughout the year. Playing games and doing things with our community. So this will go towards the end of the show. So they've already heard the intro, the rigmarole, all that stuff. But to give a little bit of background on kind of how you and I got hooked up to do this tonight, my good friend and friend of the show, Justin Cooper, you were on his Epic Tales of the Sewers podcast. And that's his Ninja Turtle podcast for those of you guys who may not have listened to it. Justin's been on the show. I've been on some of his shows before. And he reached out and was like, I think he actually screen grabbed something that you had posted online saying that you were looking to do some shows. You got some things to promote, things to talk about. And anytime I get the opportunity to talk to a comic book creator, writer, artist, penciler, inker, whatever, I'm going to do everything I can to have you on. So what I want to do, Josh, is give you a minute to, tell our listeners kind of who you are, what you're about, what you got going on, anything important you think they might need to know about you.
Well, I'm a recovering porn addict. And actually, that's not true. I'm not recovering at all. But no, yeah, I'm founder, CEO, editor-in-chief of Cutthroat Comics based out of Findlay, Ohio. Since 2015, we've been going. I'm trying to remember how many books and comics I've even pumped out. It's like 20 or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Between books and comics. My new novel just came out on Valentine's Day called Cocaine Stripper Stronghold. We've got a Kickstarter going right now for Tales of Shock and Terror, which is, I think it's, last I checked, it was 150% funded already in just a couple days.
Yeah.
And then on March 4th, my personal book, Turkey Sharks #2, is hitting Kickstarter. So yeah, there's a lot going on right now. This is as busy as we've ever been.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I've had the pleasure of reading a couple of your books, right? Excuse me, your comic books. When I say books, I mean comic books. All right. So, I kind of want to get into all that, but I want to back it up a little bit. And I've got a handful of questions that our listeners have written in. And one of the write-ins actually came from a previous guest. So we had Jay Bartlett, the guy who did the Nintendo Quest documentary. He's done Action Hero Adventure, or Action Figure Adventure documentary. He does an action figure YouTube show and things like that. And so what I've been doing is, since I'm having so many different guests on the show, I've been, at the end of the interview with them, I'm asking them a question like, hey, what kind of question would you want to leave for the next interview? Sometimes it's going to be comic book creators, sometimes it's going to be podcasters, sometimes it's going to be YouTubers. We've had all kinds of guys on the show. And so Jay actually left a question that I would normally want to end our talk with, but since it was such a good question, I think it's a really good kind of like get to know you question. So I'm going to open up with something that Jay had asked. And so, excuse me, he asked, what inspired you to pick up your pen or your pencil in the first place?
That's a loaded question, kind of.
There you go.
It's I was in a band for a while, and that ended. And then I did a movie review website, and that just wasn't fulfilling my appetite for creating. And I'd always wanted to write a book, and anytime in school and stuff, like where there was like a book report or write a paper on this or that, I always actually got good grades on those kind of things typically. So I thought I had a knack for it. And honestly, just as soon as I opened the vault doors in my brain about like writing books and comics and stories, it's been never ending. Like I've not run out of ideas in 7 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's freaking dope. Yeah. So, there's a couple things that you mentioned that I want to dig into. Obviously I want to, as a musician and someone in a band, I would like to talk to you in great detail about that. But before I derail us completely, you said you've done like 20 pieces of work essentially between comics and novels and things like that. And I've listened to interviews with you before, so I don't want to like retread too much old ground, but like,
right.
You said you've done like kids books and things like that.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I own the company, so I do whatever the hell I want, basically. Like whatever idea I have, it's green light. Like nobody's going to tell me not to do it. So that's what I do.
Awesome.
So yeah, I've written 2 kids books. I'm going to do a third one in that series. It's the Judy series. It was Judy and her blue cape, and then Judy and her big stupid bully. And then maybe sometime this year, maybe early next year, it's going to be Judy and her irrational fears.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope. Now, are these available on like Kindle and places like that, or do you have to order strictly through your website?
I prefer if people order directly from me because all those places take a cut. I'm honestly, I couldn't even tell you exactly where all my stuff is available because like the company I do printing through for the real books, like the paperbacks, like they set it up and they put it all over the place. So it's like, if you don't want to get it from me and you like Scribd or Amazon or any of that, just Google it or look on those sites.
That's interesting. So whenever you set up a deal, I mean, obviously, Cutthroat publishes, comics. So you don't just do your own work. You're working with, you had just mentioned Tales from, is it Tales from?
Tales of Shock and Terror.
Tales of Shock and Terror.
I don't know when this is going to go out, but it's on right now on Kickstarter.
Got you. And that's the Justin Bustle is his name?
It's Justin, Ron Pertee, Drew Moreland did all the art, Chuck Daniel. It's like a little horror anthology. It's pretty cool. It's interesting. It's all hand drawn, so it's not your typical clean cut comic book. It's gritty and it's cool looking. It came out really neat.
That's awesome. Yeah, actually, I think you got me hooked up with Justin, if I'm remembering correctly. So he's going to be on the show here in, I think, 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
2 to 3 weeks to kind of pimp his book and things like that out. So it's really cool. Me personally, as a consumer of these things and a fan of comics, a fan of indie comics, I love getting a hold of you guys to talk, and like, oh man, I'm personally jazzed and excited, about what you guys have going on. And like I said, I've had the pleasure of reading some of your stuff. So I kind of want to dig into that, if you don't mind retreading some old ground for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super famous, so all of my stuff is new stuff, technically to most people. So
we're going to start with Stingray. So I've read Stingray, Ginger Avenger, it's Pedoman
and Kid Friendly, yeah.
and Kid Friendly, and then they all kind of culminate into the Turkey Sharks.
Right.
Correct. So this would kind of be the Cutthroat cinematic universe, essentially.
That's kind of what I'm going for. I'm emulating that a little bit. I'm not necessarily trying to do exactly what they did, but I like when things kind of cross over and you get Easter eggs. It's world building is what it is. So
absolutely. So can you explain Pedoman to me? Like,
yes, and I get so many funny looks at Comic-Cons and stuff about that one, and some people absolutely love it. Other people give me sneers, but it's funny. It's like a Mel Brooks thing. One day at work, like at my day job, I was like thinking about how like the ambiguously gay duo and how people kind of rip on Batman about always having like a little sidekick and stuff. And I was like, what if he was like weird about that, And it's very mild compared to the original idea. I dumbed it down and made it real stupid and very slapstick and silly. So there's no, gross stuff in it. It's actually probably one of the more timid things I make because it's just dumb. But it's just a big goof, and I love writing that series. I'm not sure if I'm gonna, because we did issue 1 through 3 of all those characters, and I'm not sure. I think it's just gonna be Turkey Sharks from now on, and they're all in that book. So
it was pretty funny because I was reading through it, and I could, I was totally getting the slapstick vibe off of it, like, and the parody essentially that he kind of.
Right.
I guess the parody of the universe, and I don't remember if it was in Turkey Sharks or if it was in one of the other books where the guys were all kind of meeting up for the first time. He's like, we need a team name. He's like, how about the X-Men?
Oh,
it's like, no, wait, there's already an X-Men.
Yeah, that actually, I want to say that was a running gag in like, I want to say like 2 or 3 comics.
That makes
back
sense.
to back to back. He just kept throwing out Mighty Ducks and
I don't
even remember what all he said, but I was just like thinking of the Thundercats, I think is one of them. So yeah, that was fun. That was fun to write.
Yeah, it's very cool, man. Like I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed the books.
I appreciate that.
And I was thankful you sent us over kind of review copies to check out. So myself and the other hosts, unfortunately, they couldn't be here with us tonight, but we've been kind of shooting some things back and forth. And so far, we're really digging what you're doing, and I'm digging the humor because even the SETI, that's what it's called.
SETI, yeah,
the SETI. Your enemies, you know what I'm saying? Your alien invaders or whatever. Just the very slapstick, nature of kind of like the conversation going around, how they talk to each other, how people kind of talk about them. It's been it's a very enjoyable read.
Very tongue in cheek, a lot.
Very
of it.
much. So that's pretty dope. So I thought it was pretty cool. And like I said, the Pedoman and Kid Friendly thing. At first glance, I was like, "What is this?"
I'm really good at naming things from what it seems. So I mean, all my books have just weird names, and Stingray is like the most normal one. I mean, when you get Ginger Avenger and Stuffed Squirrels and Porcelain Angels, you'd be surprised. Hellscape is my last novel before Cocaine Stripper Stronghold. I mean, it's just they're eye catching, I think.
Well, it definitely stood out, and the Ginger Avenger. Well, actually, the Ginger Avenger is a really good book. Like that's a really good series. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's actually one of the more serious ones I get out of the.
I wanted to go serious with that one. So Stingray is very violent. Ginger Avenger was like my serious take on a comic, and then of course Pedoman Kid Friendly is just ridiculous.
Yeah. So very cool, very cool. I actually also love, and for the listeners, if you get a chance to read these, this is really cool. The origin of the turkey shark name and kind of how that all came about. With the doctor that was kind of like splicing the genes together. I was like, I came up with this thing. It's a turkey shark. And then they're like, we need a name. We're the Turkey Sharks. I thought that was very cool. Very cool the way that worked out.
I'm glad you caught that. I write these things, and I hear back from people from time to time, but not all that often. I'm always wondering, like, what if people are even going to catch, this joke or this, this setup,
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, as a fan of these things, and I sat there and I read each character's book, and then read Turkey Shark's last, and not knowing that was all culmination of it all, but like the way it all paid off for me, and then to see that, I was like, oh, that was really good. And I also noticed the little Easter eggs from book to book, like you'd see, like a picture or something of someone from another book. I think there's actually pictures of Pedo Man on newspapers and magazines and stuff in the other books as well. So
yeah, actually, I set it up. I want to say it's page 2 from Stingray, which was the first comic I did, Stingray #1. And if you look on the couch is a Pedo Man doll, a plush doll.
Yeah.
So I've been setting that up forever.
I dig it. So okay, cool. So now, obviously, you said you're doing Cocaine Strippers. That is a novel that you're doing.
Yeah, it's out right now. Cocaine Stripper Stronghold. It's ridiculous. It's gross. I would say it's probably NC-17. Basically, a group of zombies and a biker gang both decide to attack a brothel because the zombies are businessmen. They're like a group of zombie businessmen. And what do businessmen and biker gangs love the most? They love strippers and they love cocaine. There
you go. So now, is this in the same universe as the comic book stuff, or is your novel universe a little different?
It's I'm going to say yes. Like all my stuff more or less takes place in the same universe. There are a few nods here and there in my books to this or that. I think in Hellscape, and then also in Cocaine Stripper Stronghold, I think I mentioned the City of Heroes, which is Brothel City. Hellscape takes place like 400 years from now, and I think Cocaine Stripper Stronghold is like 150, 200 years from now.
Okay.
And even Stuffed Squirrels and Porcelain Angels takes place in Brothel City. There's like mention of a couple landmarks and stuff to point that out.
Gotcha. Cool deal. Now, is Brothel City supposed to be taken serious as like an actual place, or is this also a parody of a city?
I mean, kind of both. It's the joke is that it's called Brothel City because there's a big soup plant there where they make broth. So yeah, even like Judy in her blue cape in the first Judy book, she goes across the street to a park and it's called Martha Armstrong Park, which if you read Pedo Man and Kid Friendly, she's in that. The senator. So yeah, all my stuff is tied together.
See, now the reason why I'm asking these questions, right? I guess for the listeners, it's like these are a lot of short, easy answer questions, but it really does show and paint the big picture of what you're doing here. Because again, like just from I haven't read, all of your stuff. I haven't read your novels yet, but it's extremely interesting to me to see that, like, you're sitting back. This is my view of what you're doing. You're sitting back. Oh man, this is gonna be awesome. Oh man, this is gonna be cool. No one's probably even gonna notice this, but I think it's awesome. And I do actually agree. I think that's really cool that you tie it all together. And like an MCU, I think that's just very, very cool. It's almost like a bit of a reward for the reader or the consumer. It's like, oh, you consumed this thing that we did, and now here's a little nod, a little thank you, a little, oh man, that's really awesome. That it's almost like I don't want to say like it's a meta, but it's like, it's similar how to like trophies and achievements work in video games. It's like they all kind of add to this arbitrary, I guess, overall experience. It's like, I played this game because I enjoyed it. I played this game because I enjoyed it. But at the end of the day, on my profile, I have this, all this one area where everything kind of culminates. And it's like, I have enjoyed all of this stuff. It's very cool. So,
yeah, the way I see it is, will my stuff ever blow up and people will love it? I mean, I hope so. Who knows? Could be after I die. And that's kind of what my thinking is going into everything. Like Edgar Allan Poe, for instance, his stuff didn't really blow up until after he died. And I just think it's funny to me to think about, 200 years from now, they're teaching my stuff in school. And then they're like, and did you notice that one line where he mentions this or that? And he's talking about this comic book, that he wrote also. I don't know. It's just,
it's awesome. That's
thinking
awesome.
way ahead.
There you go. Well, yeah, if they're teaching, about turkey sharks in school, then we might have bigger problems than just than team up heroes. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's pretty cool, though.
It's like turkey sharks were actually first discovered in the Cutthroat Comics publishing of this book. So, all right. So, you do a bunch of writing. You know what I'm saying? You're a very diverse writer. Okay. You've got your own, I guess let's back it up. You have all these ideas. How do you go about starting Cutthroat Comics?
Yeah, I mean, I had the ideas. I think I started Stuffed Squirrels and Porcelain Angels first. And then I was actually going to do Pedo Man and Kid Friendly as the first comic, but I was like, well, let's start with Stingray before I just straight up offend everybody. But I was like, I'm never going to get published. I was like, and I was watching some YouTube videos and stuff, and I was like, why don't I just start my own company? That's what I did. I mean, got my LLC and got it going.
So I guess I answered my next question. Was it always your plan, or did you actually attempt to become published somewhere else, and that just was a dead end?
Nope, didn't even try. I was like, there's no way anybody's gonna even listen, and because I think from being in my band Until Forever, we were together for like 6 years or something like that, and we had a lot of success. I think compared to the vast majority of bands, but you just kind of learn. People want to jump on at the top of the roller coaster. They don't want to jump on at the bottom of the hill when you're going up. So that's why I was like, well, I'm going to just build this from the ground up, and hopefully one of these days people will jump on and ride with me.
There you go. Well, that segues right into where I wanted us to go anyways. So you said your band Until Forever. What did you play in that band?
I was the drummer and the manager.
Okay. So you had to be band mom.
Yep. It was fun. I mean, we had a lot of good times, but we were doing some tours and stuff, and I just got kind of burnt out, more or less. I just realized that wasn't quite for me.
I dig that. So I'm in a band as well. We haven't played live in several years. It's funny. I guess we were the most active between 2006 and 2013. And then everyone was having kids. We kind of died down or whatever. And then in 2019, we're like, hey guys, we wrote all these songs and we put out all these EPs and all this trash, but we never sat down and really did a full length album that was like produced well and blah, blah, blah. And so that's been our goal. And here we are, 2022, still working on this album. It's like it's the most never ending thing. So how many releases did you guys put out with your band?
We did 3 EPs. And our last one was produced by Spider Studios in Cleveland. I don't know if you ever heard of them, but they're the guys behind Chimera, basically, and a bunch of other bands too. But they did all their albums. I don't know if they're still a thing or not. I assume they probably are. I mean, really nice guys, but our stuff was. I think we were good. Like I listened to even our first few songs, and I was like, "This is actually I can hear the potential there." And then. Of course, when I hear the stuff we did with the guys at Spider Studio, I mean, it sounds perfect, just like something you would hear on Sirius XM and all that kind of stuff.
Heck yeah. So I'm a huge fan of Chimera. Like that was actually the first show my wife and I ever went and saw together.
Oh, really?
Oh, dude, they were on like a Roadrunner tour, and It was God, I feel like it was Lamb of God, Chimera. Hotwire, 36 Crazy Fists.
Nice.
Dude, oh my gosh, it was so freaking good. I get confused because some of these nights, that was like big tours that went through, like Headstrong and Atreyu was on one of the bills, but I don't remember if that was the same night. But either way, Chimera was like, that was one of the heaviest freaking bands at the time, and that. Oh, dude, they were so freaking good. And they were one of the first bands that like incorporated, like not so much like the dubstep sound, but like they had their keyboard guy, their sample guy, and he was playing these like wild sound effects, almost like saws and drills and stuff going on. But it wasn't like to like an EDM tone. It was just like, here's a huge bass drop and like a table saw while we're playing these crazy guitar riffs. So I freaking love those dudes.
Yeah, I think they're broken up now. We played with them one time up in Cleveland, where I think they're from Cleveland.
Yep.
At a place called Peabody's, which I think is no longer there. And we ended up, there was 2 stages, and we ended up opening directly in front of them on the smaller stage. But still, it was pretty cool that we were like the first band right before them, and we played with a lot of big bands and stuff. Straight Line Stitch, OTEP. I wrestled a bear once. I honestly can't even remember a lot of them.
Now, is Until Forever, are they on Spotify or anything like that?
Maybe, not to my knowledge, but maybe. I don't think so. I don't know that Spotify was even around, because this has been 10 years now that we've been done.
Right.
We were on Reverb Nation, and we actually were ahead of Deftones on their like USA charts for a minute. It was it was really weird. I was like, what? How are we more popular than Deftones for like, on this website? But
dude,
like, cool.
So we opened for a ton of bands too. I think we played somewhere in the vein of 300 plus shows in that 6 years.
Yeah.
Did a couple. We never did any like real tours because we all had full-time jobs. So we were weekend warriors.
Good stuff. That's what we did.
We do like a Thursday night local, Friday, Saturday, Sunday across, up and down the coast, Monday night local, just kind of whatever we could work in and fill in. We would have some of the guys grab the gear, drive across town, drive a couple hours down the road. Me and who was the drummer at the time, he's the vocalist now. We would jump in, we'd work all day, and then we'd jump in one of the vehicles and meet everybody out there. There were days where like our gear's on stage, they're doing sound check. We pull up at the venue and it's like, boom, straight to the stage, play, break down, head back home. So it was fun, man. I miss it. I couldn't imagine being on the road now with freaking kids and stuff, but like, but it was a blast. What kind of time frame were y'all out? You said 10 years ago, but like, when did you guys kind of start?
Oh man, 2008, 2009, something like that. And then we kept changing out bassists. That was like our Achilles heel.
Same here.
It's just we had like 5 bassists over the course of whatever 6 years or whatever it was, and we ended up. I don't know how I managed it, but we got signed before we ever even stepped on a stage. A friend of mine had been in a band. Actually, a couple friends of mine had been in a band. They were a Jaeger band and stuff. So I kind of was around them a lot. I watched how they did things and what they were bad at. And then, so when I took over managing my own band, I did things the right way. We signed with, it was called Dirtbag Records. And then they sold to Warner Brothers like a year later. So we were jazzed. We were like, holy shit, like we're on Warner Brothers now. Like, here we go. Like I said earlier, the roller coaster is about to take off. And I want to say like 3 months later, we got an email from Warner Brothers or somebody. I don't even remember who it was. They're like, hey, just let you know, we're dropping all the bands except one. So they're like, shit. And that band they kept was Seasons After, I think is who it was. You ever heard of them? They were pretty cool. I'm not
familiar with them.
Yeah, they got a couple good songs. They did that song from Lost Boys, or not Lost Boys. Yeah, Lost Boys, the vampire movie.
Yeah. That's a great song.
Yeah, they did that song, a metal version. It was pretty cool. We never played with them, but a bunch of the bands from Dirtbag Records, we did like a small tour with. So that was pretty cool.
Man, we got offers from small labels. But it was kind of one of those things where we were foolishly we were like, let's hang out for something bigger. And in 2006, the gatekeepers were so strong, man. I'd say 2006, 2012, to get your music on any kind of like major platform, you either had to buy into something ridiculous, or you had to sign your life away with some of these small labels that were just basically leeches.
Yep. So we got a lot of those offers after the Warner Brothers thing ended. I want to say we had, a few dozen offers over the course of years. We had DMX's old manager was trying to sign us and stuff. Like, that was weird. I don't remember the dude's name, but I checked it out and I was like, it for sure is DMX's old manager, but that was weird.
So we got propositioned by Viking Records. And Viking Records had like this really tiny footprint in like the Southeast. And it was like, dude, I got this publishing deal with Metal Blade. You know, you guys really want to sign with us, blah, blah, blah. We can buy on to all these tours and all this stuff. And this was kind of towards the end of the run for us. We're like, man, we have just been kind of like worn down with these small guys trying to take 50% of whatever it is we're going to make, which wasn't much, you know. Back in freaking 2009 to 2012, we were losing money. We weren't making money. And once that recession hit, dude, it was like, it was hard. It was so hard to get paid anywhere. And this dude, he's like, man, I got this Metal Blade deal, blah, blah, blah. So like, you know, he was, I don't know, he had a couple like bands of note kind of on his deal. And it was like, I don't remember. I right there towards I ended up having to step out. So like you were talking about being the band manager. I did all that stuff too. So I would play guitar, and we went through bass players like crazy, but we actually went through a couple of vocalists as well, which is kind of like, you know how this is in music, that can make or break you. Our first vocalist, he was a great dude. And our first EP we put out was like all scratch tracks, because like we paid for all the studio time, and we go in and we kind of lay our bass, you know, our bass line down. We did everything live, which, you know, it was my first studio experience. I didn't know that was a good way or bad way to do things.
That's what we did for our first one.
Yeah, and it was like listening back now, it's like I want to peel my skin off. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so terrible. But at the time, I was so jazzed to be like, we're in a legit studio. This is amazing. And the dude sat there, did live vocals with us, everything, and you know, we did a little bit of mixing and all this stuff, and we took it home, listened to it, or whatever. And then he quit. He was like, man, I'm sorry, guys. I'm actually moving across the country, moving to Arizona, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I can't believe we just did all this and you had said nothing.
Yeah.
And
artists in general, I mean, whether it's, you know, musicians or writers or, you know, drawing artists or whatever, they're a weird bunch of people. I can tell you that. And it's hard.
Right.
You'll get the ones, you know, that are just super creative. Like, you know, I've heard there's guitarists that I know that it's like, you're like one of the best guitarists I've ever met in my life. And they do nothing with it because they don't have the discipline to go to practice on time and show up on time and, you know, not get drunk at the show and all that. I mean, it's, you know, and that goes for writers too. It's, you have to be a business person and an artist, and that's a really tough thing to be.
I'm going to lump podcasters in that too, because that's been I've found that a lot of people want to be a part of anything, any kind of creative outlet.
Yep.
But it's very hard to wrangle them down and get them, you know.
Yep, it is. You have to do it. If you're going to do it, you have to do it, because if you're not going to do it right, then you're wasting your time, and anybody that may listen to you or read you or whatever, you're wasting their time too, I think. I kind of look at it in a way. I've been trying to make this point for a while and explain it. I don't know if I can explain it well, but the people that have bought my books and comics and supported me, I almost want to keep pushing forward because I don't want to let them down, because they've invested their time and their money in me. And now I feel like it's my responsibility to do right by them, if that makes sense.
Oh, dude, truer words were never spoken. That's how I feel with this podcast. You know, we've turned over some hosts. You know, our podcast started as like in the remnants of our band. You know, it was like we spent 6.5-ish, almost 7 years, you know, touring, playing shows, you know, writing music, whatever. And then when I started having kids, started becoming a lot of strain on the marriages and things like that. So we sat back. We were sitting at, a lot of us work together as well. So we're like, man, we got all this gear, all this crap. What are we going to do? We all listen to podcasts. We love making, you know, dick and fart jokes and stuff like that. It's like, dude, let's get all the mics and stuff together. Let's do a show. And that's how our show started. We started off, we got picked up by a gaming website, a couple episodes in. And we did that for a little while, streamed for the website, you know, did reviews for the website, whatever. And then we decided to break off and kind of do our own thing and just bloop, 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 one by one, man. Just once we started having to really focus and do all the work ourselves, you started to lose people. You know, and over time, you know, interests change, people's, you know, drive and ambition for things change. But
right,
man, I'm telling you, the people who have invested in the show, the people who have been listening to us through all the changes, through the host changes, the people who have invested in our Patreon. We don't have a huge Patreon, but we have got some loyal people who have, and so I feel the same way as a content creator, a musician, whatever. If it's one person, and I've been put to the test on this before, if it's one person, I feel like it's my job, it's my obligation to give you everything I got and try to put out the best of whatever it is.
Right. That's all you can do. And yeah, like you said, I mean, feelings change and stuff like that. Like when I was in the band, I went hard in the paint for 6 years in that. And, I had started going to college and stuff, and I was about to start a family and all that. And, it changed. And luckily, we're all still friends. I still talk to all those guys, fairly regularly. So,
that's good.
I mean, that's really cool. The singer is one of my best friends still. And our main guitarist lives in Pittsburgh doing the same type of job I do, like during the day. And then the other guitarist, who's immensely talented, he's got some albums out. His name is Corey Suydam, Corysudam. If you like instrumental, like stuff to get high to and just like veg out, like his like music is amazing. The dude's super talented.
That's what's up. So what? Well, since we're on the music, I want to stay here for just a little bit longer, and then we'll get back to other things. But what are some of the biggest shows or festivals you guys played?
We did like Toledo Music Festival one year, and that was pretty cool. We actually, for whatever reason, the breakers popped a couple times while we were playing. That was kind of funny. We pretended like we were so much metal that the breakers couldn't hear it. Probably our best show. We played with this band, and I think one of the guys was on that Ozzy Osbourne, like Making the Band show or something like. I forget what it was. Burn Halo was the name of the band. And we played with them in Fostoria, Ohio, which isn't that far from here, of all places. And it was awesome. Like, there's videos up of it on our YouTube thing or whatever. But that was probably our best show, and that was towards the end too, where we really were like finding our groove and getting our feet under us and being good performers and everything. So that was one I remember only because there are videos and I can go back and watch it.
Hey, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, man.
Man.
What's one of the wildest things that ever happened to you guys at a show?
Oh, at a show. Not too many crazy things at a show. We had a tour bus. It was a short bus that we bought, and we decked it out. We painted it black and tinted the windows. We had couches and shit in it. It was awesome. And we were going to this show in Louisville, Ohio, I think is where it was at. It was like a Pantera tribute, or not a tribute, but a Residentdarrell tribute night or something like that. And we're crossing the highway. I can't remember if I was driving or not. And the bus died as we're crossing the highway. And traffic's like coming at us. And we're like dead in the water, like right in the middle of the highway. Like we would have got T-boned. I mean, that was pretty scary. Same bus. I think we played a show up in Sandusky, Ohio with another touring band. I can't remember. I want to say their name was like Red, out of like Tennessee or something like that. But the another part under the bus went out that night too, and it was like January, and the lake is like 10 feet away, so all the breeze from the lake is there, and we're under the bus trying to get this damn thing started, freezing our asses off. It broke down another time on the way back from Cleveland, probably one of the Peabody shows that we did. The belt came off on the highway, and the lights went out. Like on the highway. So we ended up getting rid of that bus. It was fun.
I dig that. Yeah, we had a bus that was renovated into like an RV, and our first bass player, her dad was actually the guy that got us kind of hooked up with the studio we used. And we, at the time, we were just like a vocalist, two guitarists, and a drummer. And we had all kind of split off of different bands to form our band. And we had a couple songs written. I don't know, like 5 or 6 songs. We're like, let's go ahead and lay them down, and then one of us can just play the bass parts. So the dude's daughter walks in, and she's like bringing her dad lunch or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, Jen, why don't you go in there and play bass for these boys?" And she was in a rock cover band, and their name was Slow Decline, and so they would play all around, bars, restaurants, whatever, playing all kinds of cover songs. And God Almighty, this girl could sing, dude. And I knew she played guitar, but so we would play live the full song one time, and then she'd go, "Okay, I got it," and then we would all click in, and she would play, everything she just heard. Few mistakes here and there, but like it was near perfect. I was like, "How are you so good? You can hear something one time, kind of watching us play."
It's cool when that happens.
Yeah, she was awesome. But we were fortunate because her dad had the RV, and he was a sound guy. He was our sound guy, but he was like, he would take bands all over the place, run sound for them, be the driver, all that stuff. And so it was really cool, dude. So we would travel these shows and stuff up and down the coast, and we roll up in this giant bus, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, who is this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're Ninja Loot from Columbia. We're a big deal." We're not. But we would show up looking like hot stuff, man. For a couple years there, it was awesome. We actually got kind of a little spoiled with that because we started off a little big for our britches, I guess. We got a lot of cool
musicians being too big for their britches. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I don't think any of us in particular, and I'm going to say this very biasly, but I don't think any of we were douchebags. But like, we definitely showing up with that, that big dick energy of that bus, and then, and then it's like it kind of, even if you don't act out, it kind of like sets a bit of a precedent. And we were a metal band, you know what I'm saying? So like, we weren't going and playing, 1,000 people shows.
Right.
I mean, it'd be 200-300 people, and we weren't making enough money to put gas in the bus. The only reason we were able to do it is because the dude's daughter played with us. She actually joined our band after recording with us. So we were pretty fortunate. I mean, we got to do some cool stuff. Like we got to open for Flyleaf.
Okay.
So that was pretty good. I don't know if you're familiar with the Chariot.
Nope.
They're more of one of those spastic hardcore bands. It seems like they haven't been together in years. They broke up years ago. But it seems like the longer they're like split, the bigger they're getting. Like the more people are like jonesing for them to get back together. It's one of the wildest things. We got to play with. We got to open up for POD in Bushnell, Illinois at a Cornerstone Festival. We got to play one of the side stages. In between, it was the Letter Black, For Today. Brian Welch, the dude from Korn, who when he had left and started his little solo project, like right before he started his band Love and Death. So we got to play up there with them. It was pretty dope.
Yeah, that's the only thing I miss about being in a band is the actual playing on stage. I mean, and practices were pretty fun too, I guess, but man, all that other work and all that, I don't really miss that too much.
I miss, that feeling whenever you're in the room and you guys are riffing on something and it clicks, everything came together, and you had that like awe-inspiring moment of we're writing the song now. This is good.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys wrote. Some bands are like, there's like one guy who does everything and then you just learn your parts. For us, it was like, I got a riff, you got a beat, we'll build the song around that. And we would spend hours and hours, working on 3 minutes worth of music. And it was just, I miss that. I miss that clicking of something creative being made, and then like traveling sucked. I don't even like traveling with my family, much less with a bunch of friggin' dudes in a van that may or may not have air conditioning. And I don't miss loading in, loading out. I don't miss dealing with friggin' booking bookers that may or may not show up. I don't miss, I don't miss begging for Little Caesars and $100. Like I don't miss any of that stuff.
Nope, none of that. It's, I miss writing songs and all that kind of stuff. And what sucks is like one of my best beats I've ever written. I have right now. I wrote it like a year ago, and I'll go out in the garage and play it on my drums, and I'm like, man, that's such an awesome like beat. It'd be awesome to put in a song, but yeah, it's our writing was. I think I was one of the main writers. Obviously, as a drummer, I wrote all the drum parts, but I would write guitar parts too. I mean, I would just tell them like, "Hey, play this," and I would sing it or whatever. Yeah, mostly everybody kind of contributed to writing, though. Somebody'd come with a part, and we'd add this to it and that. And I think there's really only one song that me and the one guitarist Corey, I think him and I got together one day and just wrote an entire song and brought it. And it's actually my favorite song that we ever did. It's called "Deny Your Fear." I can't remember if it's on. Yeah, I can't remember if it's on YouTube or not. And it's probably, I think, our Reverb Nation. If you go to our Facebook, I think you can find all the songs. They should be all free to download at last I knew. So
that's cool. That's cool. Well, I'll kind of end the music talk because I'm sure our listeners now are like, oh my gosh, we came here for video games. You gave us comic books and music. What are you doing here, bro? But yeah, so I guess the final thing was, I feel like whenever you and Justin were talking, you had mentioned you guys could potentially do some sort of reunion, even if it's just like studio music. Is that still like on the table, or?
We've talked about it several times, and actually, pretty much my thing, and I've even been asked to be in bands and stuff, and my answer is always, yeah, I'm down, but I'm not doing anything. Like, I'll show up and I'll play, and that's all I'm doing. But I think people know what I did for that band, and I feel like that's part of the reason they want me, and I'm not doing that anymore. But as far as a reunion, yeah, I mean, we've got people that want us to do it, and we all want to do it. It's just, you know how people are.
Yep. Oh, dude, I'm dealing with it right now because our drummer, he's in Alaska at the moment. We were supposed to. He does like audio and video for like big churches and like big facilities and stuff like that. So he does installations on that crap, and then he runs lights at local venues here. So he's always busy, and he used to tour with a little Irish folk band called Syr, S-Y-R. And he just quit touring with them. And so now he's like, all right, we're on this thing. We're going to finish this album. We've got all these friggin' songs written, but he's got a really nice studio, and he's got a split level home, and the bottom level is like a studio. And so we're like, let's all get together, and it's like 1 week, boom, someone's got COVID. And then, you got to wait a month until the next time we're all able to hang. And then, the other guys got COVID. Oh, wait, I just had COVID again. And then it's like, oh man, my kids are all sick. But it's always something, with us. And we want to do at least one more show once the album is done, almost like an album release party kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to bring in, we'll probably hire some larger, bands or whatever to have them, or catch a tour that's coming through at the time. Maybe catch them on an off day or something, so it's not so expensive.
Right.
But we want to do at least one more. But dude, I don't miss being on the road. I don't, like you were talking about all the management stuff. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with all the freaking people that are trying to rip you off, because that's what it is. Everybody's trying to rip a band off.
Mm-hmm. There's plenty of times, I'd walk up to a promoter and be like, yeah, you said you were giving us this or that for being here. And they're like, oh, well, we only made this at the door. It's like, well, I mean, that's not my problem necessarily. Yep. Like, we drove fucking 3 hours to get out here. You told us you were going to pay us, $200 or $300 or whatever it was, and you're like, here's $25. It's like,
dude, oh my gosh. We drove 3 hours to play this skate park, right? A place was called Ziminos Skate Park. And they would just drop a PA in the middle of a half pipe, right? So we go to this place and we play and we put on, a decent show, I think. Played our set. It's 105 degrees in there, sweating our balls off. You got people all in the pit area, which is, essentially standing in front of you. You got kids sitting all up and down the half pipe. I mean, you probably got 150 people, in there. Now, granted, most of them that were there to skate, but then there's a lot of them that paid just to come see the bands. We drive all the way out there. We're told we're going to get, $100 to $200 off the door, whatever, and then whatever our merch is. So we bring the bus. We're on like this little 5-day stretch. We're driving the bus. we ordered pizzas to get delivered to the bus, right? When they're like, all right, well, hey, you got to hang out until the place closes, then we'll cash out for the night. We'll give you your envelope with your money in it. Dude locks the door, right? Locks us outside. We're like, okay, maybe whatever. So like we're outside for like a half hour, 45 minutes, and we go knock on the door like, hey man, like we're ready to go. Like this place has been shut down. It's 11, 12 o'clock at night, whatever. And they were like, would not open the door. And we're like, oh my gosh, dude, this dude's going to freaking like, he's inside. Like, and the thing is they would let like a handful of people came in. And apparently they were shooting like a music video or something there that night. So they had like a couple like pro skaters in there. And I'd say pro in quotations. I don't know if it was any notable people, but maybe professional from the area or whatever. This freaking dude, like, I mean, it got like obnoxious. And I'm like, we're messaging back and forth, like, hey, what's going on? The dude opens the door, hands us $40, and then pulls the door shut and locks it.
That sounds about right.
An envelope with $40. And I'm like, this didn't pay for the food we ate, much less the gas to get here. 3 hours on a bus, man, during 2009 recession gas prices. That was freaking ridiculous.
That's very accurate.
Yeah. So I want to pivot. All right. So we just talked music. Obviously, we talked about how everyone's out there trying to rip you off. What kind of things are you experiencing in the comic, publishing side of things? Is it as cutthroat, no pun intended, or is it a little more laid back, a little easier to manage this kind of stuff?
I mean, when I got into this, and I tried to do this with the band as well, but I started off saying like, I'm not here to make enemies. If somebody wants to have drama, they can go have drama. I'm not getting into it at all. And I think I've done pretty good about that. There's been some things where, somebody will say to me, oh, he said this or she said that. And I'm like, cool. I don't care. I'm not getting into that. I'm just here to make books and comics, and, I'll make friends all day, but I'm not making enemies. And, ultimately when you do anything, you're going to make enemies regardless of what you do. And I don't know that I have any specific enemies. I hope I don't. But yeah, I'm not playing those games with this. Like, if you don't like me, cool. If you do, that's awesome. I'm here to make books and comics and entertain people, and hopefully one day do this as my real job.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you have like some really cool title, a biomechanical engineer or something like that.
Yeah, biomedical engineer. It's not as cool as it sounds. It sounds fancy. It's not. I repair and calibrate medical equipment, which, I mean, it is a good job, but yeah, it's not, I don't make like nuclear weapons or anything like that.
I mean, it sounded cool when you said it. So, I mean, like, I'd be walking around like, I'm a biomedical engineer. What's up?
Yeah, it's a good job. And if that's what I end up doing the rest of my life, then so be it. I'd be okay with that. But I'm hoping to one day, leave that and do the books and comics full time.
How are the cons? Like whenever you set up shop and do the cons, you get good feedback from the cons, or are they kind of hit or miss?
That's where I make most of my sales. It is getting harder because cons are raising their prices, to be a vendor and stuff. I was actually just talking to my friend about it earlier today, but, so I'm trying to pick and choose my cons wisely as best I can, most bang for my buck, between what they charge for a table and hotel stay and how many people I think are going to be there. Even as far as like celebrity guests, are they more comic book people, or is Aquaman going to be there?
Now, which ones kind of bring better traffic towards you? Like a big name celebrity, like a Freddy Krueger, or, someone who's actual, like, if like, would a Jim Lee or a Jason Momoa bring more traffic to your table?
To my table, probably the Jim Lee would probably do that. Momoa is going to bring more people into the place, of course. So it's kind of I think a lot of people would struggle with it. I'm a pretty good salesman, I think. I was a salesman, a trained salesman for a number of years. So I know how to figure out what people like. And if I have anything on my table, point them in that direction. But it's tough. It's just being any type of artist and trying to have success with it is very, very difficult. the chances of success are extremely low, and you really have to work every day at every part of it, and you have to practice your pitch as far as like, let's say you walk up to my table and I find out that Stingray is the thing that you're probably into. I have to be able to sell that book and know everything about it and know what to say to you to get you to pick it up. Not to say that I'm here to just make money, but I'm trying to do this as a living, and that's kind of part of it.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. Yeah, I go to some of the local cons around here, and I always try to give the indie guys a little bit of love. So it's some of that comes from being a musician and knowing that most people don't know who you are,
right?
Yeah, because you're not the big draw, you're not the big push, you're not like you don't have the marketing behind you. So when I take my kids to a lot of the cons whenever we can. Obviously, COVID kind of effed up that for a little while, but they're gearing up to rip out and have some cons around here again soon. So I'm hoping to get back into the swing of things. But man, I always try to swing by there and pay the indies some love because man, I understand. Granted, the media might not be the same, but it's definitely definitely try to give our local comic shop is pretty awesome about bringing independent artists in. And I've got some guys I've had on the show before that have done some stuff over there. We got some guys that set up and do art and sell their art and stuff. Some amazing comic book artists, local guys that have not quite gotten on something yet. God, dude, like some of these dudes are freaking amazing. And they'll set up and they'll sell their art at these places, and I'll drive out and I'll go buy some books and just to talk to them. Like, hey, man. So definitely, if you're listening, guys, support your local artists, whether it be music, whether it be comic guys, anything like that. So
I try to tell people all the time, like, throw on Netflix and look at some of the shows that are on there. I mean, a lot of that stuff is independent comic books, that they've made into a show. And it's like, if you're not buying the comics, shows like that don't get made. I mean, Lock and Key is an excellent example. That's one of my favorite shows right now.
Yeah.
And there are dozens and dozens of other ones. That's where it starts, a lot. And you even look at movies and everything that they come from books, and they come, it's like almost every movie seems to be based off a book or a comic or something. And if you don't buy the books or comics, then you're not going to get, people always complain about movies nowadays don't have any original ideas and all that stuff. It's like, well, you have to buy the books and comics and show that there's a fan base out there for studios and that to look in that direction. And they already do. I mean, Sweet Tooth is another one. I mean, there's just so many.
Well, Witches just got picked up. That Snyder, and that's one of my favorite. I mean, my listeners have heard me talk about it so many times, but Witches is getting picked up and turned into a show, and that's such a freaking good book. So I got a couple write-ins here. I'm gonna try to cut you loose here pretty soon, Josh. I want to be respectful of your time.
Right.
But our good friend Dump Liquor writes in and says, "What is your favorite comic book ever?"
That's a loaded question. I mean, if you're talking about like a specific issue, what is it? X-Men?
Issue series, whatever you got.
Boy, that's a hard question. There's so many good ones. I really enjoyed Mr. and Mrs. X. That was probably one of the last ones I really, really enjoyed. I think it ran like 15 issues or something like that, 12 or 15. That was really good. I'm more of a Marvel guy than I am a DC, even though I like DC. And yeah, X-Men. I was big X-Men growing up. So probably something along those lines. Spider-Man.
There you go. All right. Matt G writes in. He wants to know who you think is the most underrated superhero in comic books.
Gambit.
Oh, good answer.
Didn't even have to think about it. Gambit's awesome.
You would think by now we'd have gotten some Gambit. He's got to explode soon. Like that's got to be a thing,
right? And we're just talking, the big two superheroes. It's Gambit.
Right.
Obviously, Ginger Avenger would be on my list as well.
Rumor has it, man, that one's going to get picked up too. So,
That'd be
I mean,
great.
I started that rumor, but it definitely is a rumor. And
For the right price, I would sell that shit today. I mean, I always tell people, it's like, all it's going to take for me is one thing to pop off, and then I'll be able to do this forever, So I would sell one of my things right now. If some studio came knocking and they were like, we want this one, I'd be like, cool.
So this one comes in from my daughter. So Zoe Butterfly writes in, and by writes in, I mean she asked me, and she was like, "Do you have any tips for up and coming writers?"
The first thing I always say, and if anybody's listening that's heard me interview before, because I've been asked that question a few times, and it's one of the best questions to ask. And as a musician, I think you'll know this too. You better develop thick skin, and you better develop it very quick, because you are going to get told no 1,000 times for every yes.
100%.
That just pertains to being successful and sticking with it. As far as just becoming a good writer, I mean, you just got to write. Honestly, it's just like anything else. You just got to practice.
Absolutely. I got one more from one of my trio. Spider Pax wants to know which is the best Spider-Man.
You mean like, I guess
it could be movies, it could be comics, it could be the cartoon series. This is an ongoing question in our house.
Oh, okay.
So, and I told him I was interviewing a comic book guy. So it was like, oh, well, then we've got to ask who's the best Spider-Man.
Well,
so you can go with movies, you can go with whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking like as far as actor that played Spider-Man, I think Tobey was a great Peter Parker. I think that Andrew Garfield was an excellent Spider-Man, and I think Tom Holland is really good at both. As far as like, if you're looking at comics, I have a very big love for Black Suit Spider-Man. I have a whole shelf of Black Suit Spider-Man stuff right in front of me. And I really love Spider-Gwen a lot too.
Okay. Yeah, we are Black Suit Spider-Man fans in this house for sure. And I totally agree with your answer. I think that Garfield needs a third movie though, just to show you everybody that he is the superior Spider-Man. Personally,
I'm down. I would watch that 100%.
Dude, I'm assuming you saw No Way Home.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh my gosh, was that not amazing?
It was. Unfortunately, the theater I watched it at, there was a lot of talking going on and stuff, so that was kind of annoying.
Oh, that would have sucked.
Yeah, I loved the movie. I mean, it's, and people were like, oh, all these plot holes and whatever. It's like, dude, it's a freaking comic book movie. Like, it's not going to be perfect. You're looking for fun and you're looking for fan service, and it had all that. So it was fantastic. I really loved it. I love that trilogy. I mean, I like all of them, honestly. Even Spider-Man 3, I can get something out of. It's not great, but it's fun enough.
I mean, we got Bully Maguire from Spider-Man 3, so. Have you seen any of the edits they're doing now on the internet, on YouTube and stuff, where like people are getting hurt or falling, or there's various fight scenes from different movies, and they're editing Tobey Maguire in there?
I feel like maybe I saw one.
Oh my gosh, dude!
But I don't think I've seen a bunch of them.
If you want to laugh, just type in Bully Maguire in YouTube and let it rip, dude. Because
I'm already laughing, having watched it
yet. Some of those edits are just ridiculous. I mean, people on the internet, sometimes it's a very terrible, toxic, disgusting place, and then other times it's very wholesome. It's very amazing. So. Josh, I kind of want to end everything. I try to keep everything to an hour with these interviews. I want to be respectful of your time. I know you're talking to a lot of different people, and you probably want to get back to your Rocket League match too. So,
oh yeah, no, that's done for the night. Actually, my buddy's coming. My friend, him and his dad playing a cover band. They're playing tonight. We're gonna go check them out. It's his dad's birthday, so we're gonna go say happy birthday to them and hang out there for a little bit. But
that's dope. Well, I really appreciate you coming on here and shooting the breeze with me, talking shop, spending some time, talking music. Selfishly, I went into this wanting to talk music with you. Once I heard you talk with Justin, I was like, oh, dude, we'll talk some books and stuff. But I kind of want to, anytime I can talk with a fellow musician, I love to have this conversation. So,
Oh yeah, I love trading war stories and all that. I mean, it's somebody, when you've done that, you get it. You understand what it's like, how difficult it is. And
awesome. So, is there anything else? I mean, if there's anything else you want to share with the audience, where can we purchase your books, physical, digital? You know what I'm saying? What's the best way to get our hands on the things that you have done?
yeah, I mean, you just go to cutthroatcomics.com. There's a store where you can buy all the physical stuff. If you're looking for digital, you can click on, there's a novels page, a children's book page, and a comics page. And you can, you scroll down, you read everything, and there's buttons to get to the digital stuff. So that's where you can find all that stuff. I don't know when this is going to air.
Monday at 6 a.m.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Tales of Shock and Terror is on Kickstarter right now. We're trying to get that. I mean, it's already funded, but we're working on stretch goals. It's going to be a really cool book if you like horror. Cocaine Stripper Stronghold is out. That's my new one. And March 4th, look for Turkey Sharks 2 on Kickstarter.
There you go. Now, whenever you purchase physical books through your store, I'm a physical guy, so I prefer physical whenever possible.
I'm the same way.
Do you ship them yourself, or do you have like a third party do it?
One of these days, I would love to have a third party do it, but it's me, and I sign everything that gets ordered too.
Oh, that's dope.
Yep.
Awesome. Oh, by the way, I do want to mention this, and the listeners, maybe this will be the tipping point to get you to purchase one of these books. But the covers that you have for the different Pedoman books, the Ninja Turtles cover where they're all coming out of the sewer, and then the Batman Mask of the Phantasm cover, absolutely brilliant.
That cover alone, I'm telling you, I probably get 5 or 7 people per con that they'll be walking by and I'll see them stop. I mean, cold in their tracks and look at that, and I know exactly what they're looking at every time. I can see it on their face. But yeah, and actually the Pedal Man and Kid Friendly #3, we've got some variants of that as well. So there's a little drop down if anybody wants to look at that. I think we only printed 50 each of those. We still have some left.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
$5.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude. Well, you'll definitely be getting some business from me as a newfound fan of what you do. I'm into it. I'll continue to talk about on the show. I have another podcast that we do. It used to be pretty more regular, but now since I've got a handful of things going on in life that I'm working on, a couple career changing opportunities. So I don't do it as often, but I do a Loot Bros comic cast, and unfortunately, my comic cast co-host couldn't be here tonight. But we'll occasionally we'll tackle books on there. We'll rip interviews. So this interview will go live on the Loot Bros podcast, and it'll also go live on the comic cast for people that subscribe to one and not the other. So this will go live both places. I will put all of your links and stuff to your store, to your socials, all that in the bio. Josh, thank you for coming on. I got one more question for you, and then we'll let you go. And I said earlier, what I've been doing is I've been having the guests leave a question for the next guest. Okay. So fortunately for you, you know the next guest, but most guys will not. But yeah, we got Justin coming on to talk about the Tales from Shock and Horror. Is that what it's called?
Tales of Shock and Terror. I keep saying horror too. I keep catching myself.
Yeah. So originally he hadn't, when I first made contact with Justin, he hadn't released what it was. And he just said he had a comic coming on, which I think you had also told me as well. So now, I guess a few nights ago, he had got on some shows and went on social media and had posted it. So now I'm over here. My relation to him is Tales from the Crypt. So yeah, I keep wanting to say Tales from the Crypt. So Tales of Shock and Terror. So what question would you leave for him? Anything. It can be whatever you want.
Oh boy, let's think of something stupid.
There you go.
How about let's go. I heard you have a My Little Pony tattoo. How much do you love it, and when are you getting another one?
I'm going to ask him that question, but not tell him that you left it. Awesome. Well, Josh, thank you for coming on here and giving us a little over an hour of your time. I really appreciate it, man. Anytime you got anything you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to come on. Shoot me a message, bro, and we'll do this again. Next time you got something you want to push, you want to promote. If you just want to talk music, you want to talk shop, you want to talk games, whatever. If you just want to come on the show and just, commentate some of the ridiculous things that we tackle week after week, you're more than welcome, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate that, man. I like doing these things. These things are cool. And, like I told you before, I like talking about my work and stuff, but I like just talking. Talking's fun too.
Heck yeah. Well, like I said in the beginning, or I might have been off the air, but I want to give everyone a platform, to at least pimp your stuff, and then from there, we'll go wherever. We might not have talked about anything tonight, but I appreciate the conversation. So again, thanks for coming on. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Listeners, thank you so much for giving us your time, checking this out. Please check out Cutthroat Comics. Check out Josh Nealis on Facebook, Instagram, and all the different socials. I'll have all the links in the bio, and buy some books. Support, independent artists, support independent publishers. Check this stuff out. Speaking of supporting independent artists, in what I've been doing the past few weeks is I've been playing songs that I've written for one of my side project bands, not necessarily the main band, Ninja Loot. And this is another one. This is another RPD joint. This is a song called Only Cowards Run, very much inspired by some of the, I said Resident Evil, jeez. Some of the Ninja Loot stuff that we did. So we actually had a shirt that said Only Cowards Run. It's one of the lines and one of our songs called The Hardest Fight. As a matter of fact, we're actually naming the album Only Cowards Run. So this is kind of a tribute to some Ninja Loot stuff. So here you go, RPD, Only Cowards Run.
On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run. On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run. I'm coming down with a sound like you ain't never heard. I'll do whatever it takes to get the message heard. You can try to run away, but you can never hide. There ain't a road that you will make that can't be changed right. Sink or swim, bottom run, this is your choice. I use this music as a weapon, this is my voice. Words of hope to the hopeless, and this is what I do. It breaks my heart when I see what this world has come to. Going through so many things that I'm still here. Face the battle head on, showing no fear. Mind clear, yeah, I serve a God that brings hope and loves you and sees all of these things you go through. On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run. On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run. First dude, just listen to what I'm bringing you. About to step on some toes with what I'm letting loose. I'm telling you like a target, feel like falling apart, and all you see is the scars as these things pass. You may be close to the edge, just standing out on the ledge, ready to jump. Stop, listen, please step back. Only the cowards will run when things get tough. Only the cowards will run when things get rough. Hearts break, tears flow, God stays the same. He's the only one that can take away the pain. Insane that he can love us even through a flaw. We don't deserve a single thing, but he gave it all. On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run. On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run.
Yeah, you can try and run away. You can try and run away. But only cowards run away. Only cowards run away. Yeah, you can try and run away, but only cowards run away.
On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run. On the front line, I can see the enemy. I feel the battle of ages raging inside of me. We will one day answer for the things we've done, but I refuse to run, cause only cowards run.
You can